So XRP has surged by over 55%. And here you can also see that we ended up reaching past the 1.236 level, where I mentioned how it was possible we had a WXY structure to the upside that was forming. And so it will be interesting to see if XRP can actually retrace towards the 1.618 level. And if we do so, then that would then mean that we have a 5-wave move that's in play, as opposed to a WXY structure. And if we don't retrace towards the 1.618 level, then essentially we had the WXY structure that formed, where the Y wave ended up extending beyond the typical requirements, which can happen in a bullish environment. And it's possible that we are within this bigger WXY structure on a macro level, where we could then potentially see the Y wave tap into this region, sit between $3.14 to $3.53. And if we do so, then I will be looking out for a retracement to the downside, where we could see a 50 to 18.2% retracement of this wave structure. And then following this move to the downside, I would then be looking for that further push to the upside, where we could see high highs. And if I zoom in also, what you can see is we did have the golden cross event that took place over here. So this took place last week on Thursday. And this was also a signal that we were bullish. And of course, this was a reflection of this price action to the upside, as opposed to, an indication on what's to come. Essentially, it was an indication of what has already taken place, which is this move to the upside. And that then further led to this continuation to the upside. And if I go on the hourly chart, what you can see is I was tracking this 5-wave move to the upside. And so this next move to the upside will also need to be made up of 5 waves, which looks to be the case in this instance. And so if I remove this, what you can see is what ended up playing out was this wave 1, which was made up of 5 waves, with this being a wave 1, this being a wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and a wave 5. And then we had this correct move to the downside to complete the wave 2. And so it's possible that this move to the upside ended up completing the wave 3, where we ended up reaching $2.98. And it's possible that we are within this correct move to the downside to complete the wave 4. And this wave 4 is typically a 23.6% to 50% retracement of the wave 3. And so I'll quickly do a check once I complete this wave here, where I'll be looking out for a continuation to the upside to then complete this 5th wave, which would typically be a 1.236 to 1.618 retracement of the wave 4. And so assuming that the wave 3 is now complete, what we'll be looking at for right now is a 23.6% to 50% retracement of the wave 3. So here you can see that we met that requirement at 23.6%, where that level sits at $2.77. And here we ended up reaching lower than that level at $2.69. And so if we ended up completing this move to the downside to complete the 4th wave, then again, I'll be looking at for that further push to the upside, where we could see a 1.226 to 1.618 retracement of this wave 4. And so XRP will then have the potential to reach anywhere between $3.05 to $3.16. But it is possible that we see a further push to the downside to complete this 4th wave. And so what I'll do very quickly is just go on a 5-minute chart to see what's actually taking place, where it's possible that we have a WXY structure to the downside that's forming, with this being a W wave, this being an X wave, and this being a Y wave. And this X wave would typically be a 50 to 88.2% retracement of the W wave. So if I use the Fib tool, so here you can see that XRP has the potential to reach anywhere between $2.83 to $2.94. And so if I just quickly draw that in, you can see that we have tapped into that region. And so it's possible that we ended up completing this X wave, and we could potentially see a further push to the downside to complete this Y wave, which would typically be a 1 to 1.226 retracement of this W wave here. So if I bring in the Fib tool, and bring this to over here. And so XRP has the potential to go slightly deeper towards this region sitting between $2.51 to $2.57. And shortly after this move, I will be looking at for that push to the upside. And here you can see that the deeper the wave 4 goes, the higher the wave 5 goes. And so assuming that we go even deeper towards this region here, then what you can see is XRP will have the potential to go even deeper within this region that I set out. And so again, if I'm assuming that we ended up completing the wave 4 over here. So you can see the difference between the ranges, where we could see XRP reach anywhere between $3 to around $3.11, as opposed to if we were to go slightly deeper within this range here, then it's possible that we go even deeper within this range here to complete that fifth wave. And so, yeah, we'll be looking at for a continuation to the upside, despite this move to the downside that we're currently witnessing at the moment. And you can also see that on the Elliott chart, we are just above the oversold region. And so I'm looking at for the bulls to continue to regain control of the market. And yeah, this cooling down process is not oncoming. If anything, it's actually necessary, given the price action that we've seen so far. So essentially, people are taking profits and they'll be looking to buy in at a low price, which could then potentially drive the price of XRP towards high highs. And shortly after completing this fifth wave, we'll be looking at for a bigger retracement on the macro, or in the midterm at least, to the downside, where we could see a 50 to 18.2% retracement of this wave structure. And then, in fact, if I zoom out of this wave structure, and yeah, I'll be looking to buy in at a low price before we see that continuation to the upside. And it will be interesting to see if we have a WXY structure that's forming, or a 5-wave move, with this being a wave 1, this being a wave 2, and then we'll have a wave 3, 4, and 5 that will also play out. But for that to be the case, then what we need is for XRP to extend beyond this level at $3.53 and retrace towards the 1.618 level of the wave 1, which is this wave here. And yeah, that would then mean that we are extra bullish. And again, it would be possible that we ended up bottoming out at this level at $1.61, and we could then see a continuation to the upside. And so yeah, that's my update on XRP. Hopefully you found it useful, and if you did, then feel free to hit that like button, and if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.